LifeVac is a non-invasive suction-based device used for the intent of removing a foreign body airway obstruction in the airway. That can be used on conscious people, unconscious people, people in wheelchairs, people who are pregnant, men, women, children, adults, children, and infants. Now, when we comes down to infants, the mask size, this device isn't recommended for people under 22 pounds in weight. Reason being is that typically with an infant and this mask, in studies and in training scenarios and studies to develop these masks, under 22 pounds, you just can't get a good enough seal with this size mask. So they recommend not using the pediatric mask for people under 22 pounds. However, in this study here, which I'll link in the description, and there's plenty of anecdotal evidence. I've also got at chokingfirstaidcourse.com, I think 6 case studies where we pull 6 kids under 22 pounds that this device has been used to save. So with kids and elderly, the choking ages that are of high concern are usually over 75 years of age and then under around that 5 years of age. Infants typically are choking more on fluids, so formula, milk, things like that. Between those toddlers, between 1 and 4 years of age, is a little bit more common to choke on objects. So this has been used to save people who've choked on fluid, solid objects, very young, very light, under 22 pounds, and very old people. It comes with an adult mask also. This is currently a Class 2 registered device in America. It's been registered as a Class 2 with the FDA for over 10 years. They are currently going through the process of being upgraded to a Class 3. Takes a lot of time. Right now, the FDA is having some contention with these folks. I reached out to LifeVac and they said there are no safety recalls on this. There are no safety issues. It's just basically a paperwork and time process to go from Class 2 to a Class 3 registered device, which just means more involvement by the government agencies to verify and make sure that these things are working properly. If you do use one of these devices in real life, you can send them, fill out a card, register the device with them, and then let them know that you've made a save, and they'll typically replace yours for free. When it comes down to, there are plenty of videos in the shorts, and I'll be doing more long form videos. Also, if you guys can subscribe, help get this information out to people. But at chokingfirstaidcourse.com, we cover these and implement these into every single scenario. So solo choking, infant, toddler, child, teen, adult, wheelchair, person who's pregnant, too big to get your arms around, somebody who's in a bed. How do you use traditional choking first aid with these devices? So I've built that course out, and we have 2 live video calls. So check that out. With the LifeVac, there are, I think, roughly 5,000 saves as of right now. Police departments, fire departments, hospitals are all picking these things up and utilizing them and saving lives. Some states, Texas, I think, mandated that these are in schools. As of recently, a lot of states in the country are also moving towards something along those lines. People are using these, ambulance folks who operate the ambulances, EMTs, ambulance operators are also using these. So they are pretty widespread. I don't think that as of right now, there are any lawsuits against this company for a failure. So that's a real good plus. If you look up failure, type this company in, LifeVac failure, there aren't any documented fails. And that's, so possibly they're just not reporting the failures, or there just haven't been any failures with it. Of prime concern, so with the 3 certifying agencies, American Heart Association, Red Cross, and HSI, those companies, those organizations dictate first aid, CPR, and choking first aid guidelines throughout the country. They all differ to some extent when it comes to conscious, unconscious infants, children, and adults, and choking first aid. I demo a bunch of that stuff in my short videos, and also we cover this at length in the choking first aid course. But with this device, also of primary concern for those organizations is going to this device first. So they don't want you to go to this device first because you could waste precious time providing traditional choking first aid for adult, children, and infants. So the time you take to leave that person to go grab this device, take it out of the packaging, put it together properly by pressing on this ring and twisting and pushing, reading through some instructions, that's all time that you could have been providing traditional choking first aid to the patient. So American Heart and HSI do not have a place for these in their current guidelines and policies for those reasons. They say, hey, traditional choking first aid is about 85% effective for adults, children, and infants. Just stick with that. Now, on the other side of that conversation is the Red Cross. I'll highlight these papers here in a minute and link them in the description. The Red Cross does state that if traditional choking first aid is failing or no longer feasible, then the consideration or the option exists right here. The option exists to use a suction-based device, not this company in particular, but a suction-based device. All companies do acknowledge these do have a high success rate. Anecdotally, there aren't enough studies, although there are literally thousands of studies on this thing. That's not enough for them to back up and support this, other than Red Cross somewhat alluding to it. Now, Red Cross's training services section cannot teach these devices as of right now. I think it's December 6th, 2025. But they are looking at it very diligently. Another concern is what kind of injury could happen from this. So in these different studies that I've pulled, hundreds and hundreds of them, and Red Cross has referenced over 4,000 alone right here before they made this decision. And the result of this one and most studies is that there are no injuries that result from this if you're actually choking. I do post short videos with people applying these devices to their face when they're not choking. The negative pressure on this is about 3 times the normal adult cough, so it can definitely hurt you. But for folks that were actually choking, these have not caused any injury. Some of the injuries that may be noted in some studies are bruising around the lips, nose, and on the tongue. But when we consider the negative outcome, if somebody's choking, traditional first aid fails, and you're using one of these, I would rather personally err on having a possible bruised airway and living because I'm choking to death than just decide, hey, I'm not going to use this because I'm getting bruised. On the same note, they say that they hesitate to support these because of possible injury that isn't really documented at all in the studies that we reference throughout American Heart, Red Cross, and HSI. However, traditional choking first aid traditional choking first aid does have a very high possibility, or a possibility, I should say, of causing internal organ damage by applying traditional abdominal thrusts, also back blows on infants. You can cause internal injury, and that is very well documented in these studies. As a matter of fact, in the 2025 updates here from Red Cross, they do reference that pretty heavily in about a 2 different paragraph section of their paper. So non-invasive device used when somebody is choking, adult, child, infant, not recommended under 22 pounds, can be used solo. We cover all that at chokingfirstaidcourse.com. This paper I will reference here, and we're going to link it in the description. So resuscitation of victims, choking victims in the pediatric population. Foreign body obstruction is a leading cause of death. So 1 child dies every 5 days in America. 1 person dies every 2 hours, and 5,000 people die per year from choking. This is a study right here where they studied 22 people. One of those people, the patient was under 22 pounds, but the LifeVac still saved that less than 22-pound baby, 3-week-old baby, saved that baby's life. They didn't include that case in the study itself, but they do reference it because it was a save. Of the 22 cases they studied, all 22 had basic traditional standard choking first aid for infant, child, and teen, because there's a 14-year-old, I believe, in here. They had traditional choking first aid administered. Some of them stayed conscious as it failed. A few of them actually lost consciousness, or at least one for sure. And every one of these cases had to resort to this device because traditional choking first aid failed. They applied the device. It saved their kid's life. They reference that here. And there were 0 complications or 0 injuries afterward. References here, those age ranges I referenced earlier. So the higher risk populations they talk about here. They talk about the introduction of changes to American Heart Association's policy where we're not using the 2 fingers for an unconscious choking infant anymore. We're using the heel of the hand. So they do cover that. That's a good read here. And then it covers some things that what happens when traditional choking first aid fails. They actually reference that here. That's the whole purpose of this study. They talk about McGill forceps here. I've used those in real life. Little girl, she was 5, choking on a grape, unconscious and blue in a parking lot. Pretty serious, pretty heavy situation. You guys cannot use McGill forceps. Those are invasive. Remember, this is non-invasive. It doesn't go into the body. Even just passing into the mouth is considered invasive. McGill forceps, if you're not trained to use those like an ER doctor or paramedic, you could actually kill the person. So don't use those. That's where I think this fits the bill for us as non-professional rescuers, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, whoever. you don't have that advanced paramedic level care and those tools. So something like this can bridge the gap. Here's where they talk about the pressures. So they've studied the suction pressure of this device. It's about 3 times a normal cough when used properly. They also studied in here how much pressure is exerted right down here if somebody's using the corner of a table or a chair for solo rescue. So noting that this is above the normal cough, it is very effective. They do have some demonstrations on how to put the device together. And then here is the chart and the table of those 22 people. It shows here the object that they choked on, who provided the first aid, where was the location, where did this happen at? It shows the age, number of attempts with the device, was the person conscious when traditional was used, and was the person conscious when the device was used. And so you can see that one unconscious person here, multiple age ranges that this was used on here, parents administering care in the home, and that yes, basic traditional choking first aid was used and it failed on all of these patients. This saved their life. So they do a deep dive on that. Really, really good. A bunch of information here. They talk about on the back here. Although that traditional choking first aid does have a high success rate, it references here the average response times. And the number one question is what happens if traditional is failing or traditional first aid for choking is not actually feasible. So being in a wheelchair, somebody who's pregnant, somebody who has one arm, somebody who's too big to get your arms around, somebody who's in a bed from, say, Alzheimer's, dementia, quadriplegic, paraplegic. So it is brought up here that traditional can fail, but it can also brings up that traditional may not even be feasible. So what do we do for those people? That's where I am really, really, really thankful that Red Cross has taken the time to do this, because it is a reality that traditional can fail. And with national response times being, what do they quote here, 7 to 14 minutes, brain death can set in at about 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, really starting to set in possibly around at 8, more than likely at 10 minutes without oxygen and good ventilation. Without oxygen, there's a good chance of a brain injury. Most of the kids I've treated that have been in that 4 to 15 minutes of turning blue, being unresponsive, gaining responsiveness, going back and forth with a stable airway, unstable airway, they've all made a full recovery. So it's really important to take a class, learn your chest compressions, learn your choking first aid. Go to chokingfirstaidcourse.com. We cover all of this. So yeah, it can fail. Most right here talks about age ranges and what foods really, those age ranges. So under 1, a lot of times it's fluids. People don't understand that people can choke to death on fluid. This can help save you. It also says here that a minimal training type program does exist, right? Because there is that hesitancy or the lack of education that when you're going to apply this to somebody, if you don't know how to use it, it's going to cause a hesitation during the care. So that's what we're trying to do. I'm doing through chokingfirstaidcourse.com is teaching you traditional choking first aid with suction-based devices and creating a standard. To date, there have been no reports of significant adverse effects right here with using the device. And while there have been no reports of failures of the device, they cannot definitively state that no device failure has ever occurred. So real good paper here. There are a lot of papers that really do dig into this, and it seems overwhelmingly that people do acknowledge this does save lives. We just need more studies to make sure it's safe to use. Red Cross's updated guidelines here. I'll put this down below in the description. This is the basis of my choking first aid course right here. Provide traditional choking first aid for the latest updates. If that's not feasible or fails, kind of what we talked about here, the option does exist to, I'll read it to you. If standard treatment is not working or feasible, traditional choking first aid, anti-choking devices may be used for attempted removal of the airway obstruction. So there's the guideline, there's the option, and here's the General Counsel voting unanimously to approve the recommendations right here. They do admit that there is some bias in the studies, that there are very limited studies. The most amount of studies that have ever been done on this device, on anti-choking devices,